What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Sit Down Saturday, and today we are going to do another versus as we look at the two Legend Scale Devastators that have just recently been completed, the Magic Square and the New Age, back at it again, back at each other's throats for a final battle. Except there won't be a final battle. I'm sure we'll be doing more of these because these two companies just can't get out of each other's way. So today we're going to do that, and I'm excited to do that because I'm also excited to get some of these boxes out of my house. But before we do that, we have to do a little bit of housekeeping. Not a whole lot, though. Just the verses from last week. Look, I messed up the scoreboard at the end. Hopefully you can just listen to the words that I'm saying and realize that I forgot to put in the editing of the score. Like, I keep a lot of the templates up so that when I do the verses, I can just plug in different words. My washer and dryer went up last week. I had to get them replaced. They were supposed to come at a certain time. It got delayed. Plus, I was doing a podcast for Patreon in the afternoon. Like, it was a wreck. It was a disaster last Friday. I barely got the thing done at all, but I did screw it up. That's on me. I apologize. Hopefully, you can use your deductive little reasonings and figure out what was meant to be there. And then that's really it. I heard a couple people talking about the Devastator video and that, like, I'm being too hard on it. Like, no, I'm not. You're being too confirmed in your bias. So let's get that out of the way and let's take a look at these two. And honestly, as I got to thinking about this, I think it's going to be a lot closer than it actually seems on the surface. On the surface, it seems like it's going to be a slaughterhouse. The New Age is just going to take their head off. But as I got to thinking about it, I was like, man, they're probably going to win Sculpt. They're probably going to win alt mode. Like, I got to thinking about things are probably going to win. And as I got into that, I was like, this might be closer than it actually seems on the surface. So let's go ahead and get started. Accessories wise, I got to give it to New Age. New Age comes with the gun. Magic Square comes with the gun. New Age has the drills. Magic Square has the drills. Magic Square comes with guns for all of their members. New Age comes with guns for all their members and horns for all their members. And then there's some kind of nitpicky stuff here and there, but for the most part, I think New Age takes it. Gimmicks wise, I'm going to tie them out. They both have the drills for hands. Magic Square has that whole different deco, which is pretty cool with the gray thighs and all of that. But New Age has the sliding thighs during the articulation, as well as the pistons in the back of the forearms. And they both use parts forming, which is its own gimmick. So I'm going to tie them out for gimmicks. Build and materials. And it should come as no surprise to any of you that the build and materials is 100% going to go to New Age. The materials are soft and don't provide the stability for Magic Square, and the fact that the combination element is not super secure across the board, namely because the materials don't lend themselves to allow such, has to take it away. Now you may be at home saying, but I spent 13 days and 4 nights on mine and it works perfect. Good for you. I didn't. I spent about the same amount of time on each, and the New Age is superior in that regard. In terms of hardware, I gotta give it to New Age once again. They both have ratchets in the hips. The ratchets actually end up working against the Magic Square rather than for, but New Age has ratchets in the second joint of the knee as well. So I gotta give the hardware to New Age. Looking at them from the front, in terms of sculpt and paint, I think the Magic Square looks more interesting. I think it looks more intimidating. I think it looks more like a force to be reckoned with. It looks like 6 construction vehicles stacked on top of one another waiting to tear you limb from limb. Whereas the New Age one, it does what it's supposed to do. I just don't think it looks as good. And paint-wise, they're about equal. I could split hairs here and there with little accent parts, but certain accents pop more than others. Nothing to write home about. Looking at their heads, sculpt-wise, I'd say that they're pretty much equal. I think the Magic Square is more clearly defined, specifically in the lips, but for the, but we're nitpicking, we're really grasping straws. I'd say that they're pretty much equal. As far as paint goes, once again, pretty much equal, except New Age has the translucent lenses versus Magic Square's metallic red paint that looks far better. But New Age has the red accent on the helmet, Magic Square doesn't. From the side, I think the head is too bulbous on the New Age. I like the compactness better on the Magic Square. I think it just does a better job of it, honestly. Looking at the chest, abdomen area, I think the Magic Square has a ton more going for it. All of the kind of truck details from long haul come through, along with far more detailing in the chest plate. Detailing that looks purposeful as well, where some of the detailing in the New Age chest plate looks random. It's just far more visually interesting. From the side, I think it's kind of negligible. Obviously, the cleanliness of the Magic Square lower abdomen comes into play, but I like seeing the tires on the Magic Square, even though it's not as clean or pretty. The Magic Square hip flaps also have more detailings, which make them more visually interesting to me. But there is something to be said for the general cleanliness of the NewAge. So it's really 6 to 1, half of the other as far as I'm concerned there. From the side, I think it's relatively negligible. However, I still have to say I prefer the Magic Square. If you look at all the details in Bone Crusher's side as well as Scavenger's side, whereas their kind of like parts forming arm pieces are the same, there's just far more sculpted detail in the Magic Square than there is in the NewAge. From the side, the same sort of thing goes, but more paint comes through in NewAge, just with a couple little accents. But once again, the Magic Square has far more sculpted details, even in the forearm this time, as well as the hand. And almost the exact same thing can be said about the Bone Crusher side as well, except it doesn't have the extra paint on it in regard to the NewAge this time. Looking at the pelvises, pretty much a tie. The Magic Square does have the rivets along the top, but the NewAge has a little indentations along the side. Tie game here. From the side, I think it belongs to Magic Square. More sculpted details, just slightly more interesting. I think it's Magic Squares. I think the thighs are a tie. They both have the sculpted line work down the middle. The NewAge does some different stuff on the Mixmaster side, but they both have extra sculpted detail added in regard to the thigh design. I think the NewAge barrel looks wonky on Mixmaster. It looks more purposeful on the Magic Square, as does the front of the cab. It just looks more like a truck on the Magic Square, whereas the NewAge just sort of looks like a weird box painted funny. And then both of their scrappers are kind of a tie for me. From the side, I think the NewAge legs are too skinny, whereas I prefer the bulk of the Magic Square. And the paint's about similar, plus the Magic Square has more sculpted details. Look at the side of Mixmaster's kind of drum support. Look at the side of Mixmaster in general. Look at the knee on the Mixmaster side. Like, it just has way more sculpted detail. Looking at the scrapper side, I mean, it's like a broken record. I feel almost identical to the way I feel about the Mixmaster side. So they're just better sculpted. They're interesting. They're more interesting looking. They're better looking. There's more love in it. Now, from the back, I think the Magic Square is a mess. Half of that is because I've been touching it, so it's starting to come apart. The other half of it is just because it is. But to be fair, the NewAge does a better job. And slaughterhouse.com, right? This is where Magic Square is going to shine in this set, because this is where it really stacks its chips and doubles down on its bets. It looks better. It looks more interesting. It's just a better looking Devastator sort of all around. Of course, that's subjective, but what are you going to do? So it takes the head, torso, arms, lower legs, and overall visual front due to proportions and due to just a ton of sculpted detail and menacing demeanor. And NewAge takes the back because it's cleaner, and they tie in the hips and the thighs. All right, we'll go through articulation and try not to have all this stuff fall apart. The NewAge head is on a hinge swivel. You get limited up a good bit down, and a swivel. Actually, it's on a ball peg because you get the confused NewAge look as well. Magic Square is on a hinge swivel. You get a good bit up, nothing really down, so the tie there and the swivel, but no confused Magic Square face. NewAge left arm gets out to about 45 degrees, I believe, and then it swivels around with no butterfly. The right shoulder does the same, except maybe it gets slightly out further, almost to 90 degrees. The Magic Square arm, once again, falls a little short, but you get the swivel around. And on the other side, about the same. You get a little bit more range and a swivel around. It just starts to come undone. The NewAge has a bicep swivel right above the elbow. The Magic Square has a bicep swivel right above the elbow. The NewAge has a single hinged elbow that gets you slightly more than 90 degrees. The Magic Square has a double hinged elbow that gets you the full range. The NewAge has a swivel at the wrist for 360 around, plus a hinge and out. The thumb is on a ball peg with an additional hinge at the base of the thumb, and each of the fingers is on a base ball peg with an additional hinge at the fingers. The Magic Square is on a swivel at the wrist. The thumb is on a ball peg with an additional hinge at the thumb, and each of the fingers is on a base hinge with a secondary hinge as well. So pretty much articulated the same way, except the wrist wins on the NewAge. The NewAge has a waist swivel, an ab crunch. The Magic Square has a waist swivel and an ab crunch. The Magic Square also has a reverse ab crunch. The NewAge has universals for hips that get you out to pretty much the full Van Damme. I say we give it to them. Forward for the full Monty, back for the full Monty. The Magic Square can get you out to the side full range. Pieces start falling off of it, of course. Further forward because of the drop down hinge here, and because of the drop down hinge you can get it full all the way back as well. It just doesn't look as good. Thigh swivel, thigh swivel. Double jointed knee for the full range with the sliding thigh. Double jointed knee for the full range, no sliding thigh. No ankle tilt up. You do get an ankle tilt down with a rocker. And on the other side, you get a swivel, no ankle tilt up, you do get an ankle tilt down, and you get a rocker for the NewAge. For the Magic Square, you get a slight ankle tilt up, you get an ankle tilt down, and you get a rocker. And the other side, no ankle tilt up, you do get a slight ankle tilt down and a rocker. So, X-Transbots takes the articulation, but in very bizarre ways. It has a wider range for the elbow, and the wrist has an in-out movement. The hands, which is the only other one in question, I'm tying them out. Although they do have an extra thumb joint, you can't swivel the thumb in the same way you can swivel fans toys on the ball peg, so I'm tying those out. But X-Transbot still takes it. They tie in every other category. Once again, the game of ties. In terms of scale, I broke out the old size chart. It's been a while since I've done so. This is the Magic Square size chart, because the scales are slightly different, even though they're getting a little closer these days, and some releases tend to be more in line with others. But Prime is supposed to come up to the top of the purple line, which it does, technically the pink line, and that same pink line is supposed to run through the top of the barrel of Devastator. Actually, mid to top of the barrel of Devastator. So it's off. Devastator is too small. The same can be said for NewAge, except their Prime is now bigger than their normal Primes from their original scale status, and the Devastator is once again too small. So I'm tying them out for neither one of them getting it quite right. And then of course G1 accuracy has got to go to NewAge. It's what it's aiming for. Magic Square wasn't really necessarily aiming for a literal translation, and as a result I think it looks better, but NewAge has to take the category, of course. Now as far as transformation, that easily goes to NewAge. NewAge is not without its own complications, but by and large, it's pretty straightforward. It's right down the center. It connects vastly the way it should with minimal effort, and as a result works fairly effortlessly, whereas the Magic Square is anything but. It is cumbersome, clumsy, awkward, obnoxious, and frustrating. So NewAge has to win that. As far as alt modes, we'll just talk briefly about the two sets, the robot sets, and I think the Magic Square robots look better. I think they have more character. Part of that is due to their own articulation, part of it is due to the muted colors, part of it is due to Scrapper's chest staying on, but they just end up looking better. As far as the alt mode, I think I gotta give it to Magic Square again. They just look more purposeful and more detailed alt modes. They just work better. All right, Jana, which one looks better?
This one.
Okay, so I'm not gonna have you pick them up because I've already shot the baby's part,
Yeah,
and
but yeah.
she picked this one up and it fell to pieces. Take my word for it, this one feels better. But I agree with you, this one does look better.
How do the joints move?
Pretty well on him. They're not hateful on him either, but...
Okay, so that one just moves better, though. Which one's heavier?
They're very similar, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Maybe this one by a little bit, but yeah.
I like the more washed out colors there.
I do too.
Because, like, Transformers aren't very clean. Like, just gonna say that.
Well, in the cartoon they kind of are.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, but I know what you mean. Alright, Selena, real quick before we get started, if you pick one in particular, then Mommy's not going to get asked because there's no way that Mommy could make a difference in the score. So which one do you think looks better?
I think this one looks better.
Okay, all three of you have chosen the exact same one, so we're just going to move on without Mommy this time because otherwise it'll just slow me down. I'm sure Mommy would pick this one too because she hates the way the cartoon looks. So, good to go. Thank you. We're not going to pick them up because they fall apart, well this one does.
Okay.
Alright, baby. Which one do you think looks better?
Because that one has a...
This one?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want you to feel them. Alright, I'll just get it for you. Yep. I was afraid of that. It fell apart. It's okay.
He fell apart.
He fell apart, yep. Not your fault. I think we... Oh! Can you pick that up for me? I'll get it. Oh, it fell apart. Okay.
Oh, no.
God bless it. That's the problem with this thing.
Get up! Selena's trying to...
Alright, we're not going to do any more with that. God bless it. So, NewAge takes accessories because it has more overall. It takes build materials and hardware because it's a better built thing. That's what this set really has going for it, is it looks like the cartoon, which is why it wins the accuracy, and it's built really well. It also takes the transformation. Half of that has to do with the build and materials, though. The Magic Square, where they shine, is an articulation and sculpt, and it wins both those categories. Along with the price, it comes in at about $15 to $20 cheaper, depending on where you pick it up. And it won the presents, even though my wife wasn't here. Trust me, she would have chosen Magic Square. And then lastly, it wins the alt mode set. That's of course subjective, but I think the vehicle modes look much better than the NewAge, and I also think that more life comes through in the robot modes. For a final score of 6, 5 NewAge. A very, very, very close call, a close run. And I think, you know, when you really start to think about it point by point wise, a very accurate telling of how these two sets kind of line up. And they both sort of slam the opposite opponent in their respective categories. Like if we look at the articulation, for instance, or we looked at the sculpt, for instance, you know, Magic Square won the overwhelming majority of the sculpt. You know, it's like where they win super strong. So I think this is a good score. And I'd say that's pretty close. That's about as close as it gets in a lot of this stuff. And I think that that's pretty close. And once again, just use the scores and objectively and subjectively apply them to your own personal needs. If build is more important, if sculpt is more important, how do you weigh these things to you? Use it as a tool to make a decision for yourself. Price, I know that price is a big factor for a lot of people. Use that as a tool, etc., etc. And next week we'll be back. I'm not sure with what yet. There's a couple things we had to do. There's a couple ideas I have to get to. I'm just not sure what time is going to allow for next week, but we will be back one way or another. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.